and a lot of healing concepts that are embedded within the Buddhist literature. And that's the reason why the Buddha is known as a Mahabhisekko, the great physician. And also, Buddha has got the title Vaishajya Guru, which means that he himself is a guru to physicians. He's not just a physician, he's a guru to physicians. And it is important that we reposition the Buddha or we re-honor the Buddha and give him the rightful position, the rightful place that he is privileged with. And here, what the aim of this presentation is going to be that I'm going to give a quick glimpse of the medical insights or the medical knowledge that is embedded within the medical literature, and how it can be translated into science, how it can be explored by further research, and how it can be applied for enhancing neurology, neurosciences, psychiatry, psychosomatic medicine, general medicine. And apart from conventional medicine, I feel all the traditional medical systems also might have been reshaped already, but still there are more concepts that can be explored and that can be brought out in collaboration with other institutions, like-minded institutions. A lot of stuff can be looked into, and we can enhance healthcare and wellness and improve the social and societal well-being. Buddha, during his very first sermon, the Dharmachakra Pravartana Sutra, he talks about the Four Noble Truths, and he gives a clinical framework to the Four Noble Truths. And this is kind of clinical discussion. This is more or less mirrors clinical discussion that the physicians do in the hospital setting, like what went wrong and why did it go wrong, and can we fix it, and what is the way to fix it. So this mirrors the clinical methodology. And there are three types of suffering in the Buddha Dharma. The dukkha, that is the gross suffering, which at some point of time almost all of us will encounter in the form of disease, in the form of separation, death, and many other gross illness, gross kind of suffering. It comes under the umbrella of dukkha. And then there is, according to the Buddha Dharma, viparinama dukkha, the dukkha that is associated with loss, with aging, and with the change. Especially, we do not want the pleasurable circumstances or pleasant circumstances to change, but invariably they do change. So the suffering associated with that change, and then there is what is called the sankhara dukkha, because everything is conditioned, and according to Buddha Dharma, there is nothing that has independent existence which can inherently survive on its own without causes and conditions. So the suffering largely, the primary focus of modern medicine is about the dukkha, the gross suffering that most of us encounter. But then the viparinama dukkha and the suffering associated with viparinama dukkha and the sankhara dukkha are largely, even to this day, remain unaddressed, because it is about the mental distress that accompanies all three types of suffering. And it is amazing to understand, amazing to know that the Buddha has already clearly stated that the sickness and illness, what we call the sickness and illness, are known as Roga, Vyadhi, Abada in Pali. And there are two kinds of illnesses, like the mental illness, which is called the Chetasiko Rogo, and the physical illness, Kaiko Rogo. And then for mental illness, Buddha gives the primary, only one and only cause, that is the mental defilements, and coming because the root being delusion, the craving and aversion rooted in delusion becomes the primary cause for the mental illness. Whereas for the physical illness, there are 8 categories. I'm telling you about categories, and each category can be again can be branched, and it can also be like there are many sub branches. I'm just telling a broad, giving a broad picture. And then the 8 categories based on causal factors of physical illness or disturbances in the imbalance, we may call it metabolism or humoral imbalances. And then there are changes in the climate or seasons, Utu Parinamaja, and then improper care of the body. For example, it can, if we want to translate into modern science, it can range from cholera to HIV, AIDS, and all that stuff. And then there can be physical problems because of sudden attack, opakamika, and then trauma, injury. All of this can lead to the physical pain. And then the kamma comes the last, the kamma vipakaja. So just an outline of the categories that are mentioned in the Buddha Dharma. And it is interesting to know, I understand that Pancha Nivarana is mostly used as a concept which the 5 obstacles, these are the 5 hindrances that really act as, that do not allow us to progress in the meditative path, in the like there are obstacles in the mental evolution. But these are also the same problems that all of us face, and these are also the obstacles in the daily routine. For example, if I am agitated, I may not be able to stand before you. Or if you have something else, some kind of doubt in this kind of summit, you will not be attending. So there are multiple reasons. It's not that this is only for the meditative life or once we renounce or when we want to progress, but these are the day-to-day things that bother us. And the most important thing is these, when the degree and the intensity and the permutations and combinations, suppose Kamachanda comes along with Vichikicha and Vichikicha comes along with Vyapada, it is the mixture and the degree and the intensity that can give rise to the patterns that we recognize today as mood disorders, anxiety neurosis, sorry there is a spelling mistake, cognitive impairment. They all manifest based on the combinations, the intensity and degree of these factors. In fact, here, whatever I have given in the previous slide, depending upon the permutations and combinations, there are several types of mental illnesses, and these are all categories of mental illnesses. For example, Darshana Ummada, that means the person is suffering from hallucinations, and then Krodha Ummada, mania, and then Vyasana Ummada, Moha Ummada, which is kind of a cognitive impairment, kind of Alzheimer's disease, dementias, and Aksha Ummada, that is position-like disorders, kind of hysterical tendencies. So there is so much of medical information that is amazing, and I think psychiatry still can enrich itself by looking into this. And also the interesting thing is that you also know about the canonical figures, the Angulimala, Ajatasattu, Devadatta. They all illustrate a kind of psychopathic tendencies. And the story of Kisa Gautami Patachara, probably you're all aware. And they show the psychotic breakdown with hallucinations and delusions. So there is so much of medicine that is embedded, and there's so much to explore. This is just a glimpse. And then the Buddha also goes on to talk about the category of illnesses. Like in the hospital setting, sometimes we wonder why the patient has passed away, despite the problem being very simple. And the Buddha gives the reasons. There are 4 kinds of illnesses. There are, like, irrespective of the degree and intensity, some illnesses are spontaneously resolving even without treatment. Some illnesses can be curable only with treatment. Some illnesses are chronic, they are intractable illnesses, and they are resistant to conventional intervention. And then there is another kind of illnesses called, this need not be terminal, but even a simple kind of illness can, here the death is imminent. Whatever you do, the death is certain. And especially the Buddhist contemplative practices are especially relevant to chronic and terminal categories, and not only to chronic, but even for they help in the mental distress associated in the first case, in the second case, third, and also in the terminal cases. I mean, where death is imminent, the mental distress associated with that is the greatest pain. And it is the mind that makes everything. So Buddha directly shoots at the mind. He targets the mind. And this is for the regular people. This is something that the Buddha tells. There are some unavoidable circumstances in our life. For example, it can be some kind of a financial collapse, or it can be like sudden news that something went wrong with sudden news that there is a disease that is not very much treatable. Some unavoidable external or internal cause that gives us pain. That is, when we have to face adversity, the problem we do is we add more fuel to the fire. And that is like we already one arrow has struck us, and now we will strike ourselves with the second arrow. This is called the Salla Sutta, the 2-arrow parable. And if you want to know how not to inflict us with the second arrow, that it is very important for us to really understand the Abhidhamma. I know most of the attention is being paid to the Sutta Pitaka, but Abhidhamma has got a lot of medical insights that really can help us to know and understand the mind. The way the mind is dissected in Abhidhamma is like amazing and astonishing. Especially in the Dhammasangani, I'm sorry. In the Dhammasangani, the Buddha classifies consciousness into 89 types, and he classifies the emotional factors or mental states along with the consciousness. I mean the Chitta Chetasika Dhammas, and then he also talks about the Patana. The nucleus goes to the Buddha, but the later literature is developed by his disciples. In the Patana, the 24 modes of causal relations explain a lot of how the interaction, the mind-body interaction can lead to suffering, and how the understanding of the mind-body connections can lead to even the resolution of the problem. So it is very important that we take these insights, and there is what is called the Puggala Panyati, another book of Abhidhamma. The Abhidhamma has 7 books, and then Puggala Panyati is one of them. And then it classifies individuals into personality types, and then according to the personality type, we can develop relevant treatment approaches. So the Abhidhamma contains largely under-examined medical insights. So we are still awaiting discovery. And
please extend by few more minutes. That's very interesting. Don't stop there.
Please continue. No, that we can do it if the organizer give us more time for other speakers. Because I am bound, my hands are bound.
I think you have to continue.
Please continue.
Please continue, ma'am.
Continue. Again discuss this, and this is something that I want to give you as an evidence. This is something not that I developed, but it is there in the Buddhist text. This is the Bhaishya Manjusha, the casket of medicine, the compendium of medicine. So this is something that largely remains unexamined, and it is very, very important for us if we want to really get to the wellness, the real kind of genuine wellness that is not dependent upon pleasurable external or internal stimuli. Then it is very important for us to look into this Bhaishya Manjusha, the casket of medicine. Probably it has shaped the medical systems of India, Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, and other countries wherever it has spread, the indigenous traditional medical system. And if modern medicine can see so many parallels, then the practitioners of the traditional systems will see more parallels. And this is a call for collaboration, more exploration, integration, and application of these Buddha's teachings and practices into modern healthcare for the, as I said, for a kind of lasting wellness that goes beyond cure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your